Well, I still don't see it. There it is. Actually, that's the only way I know, because up in the top corner of my screen, it always says the live button comes up and the record comes up. So I know it's like right in my face. Like when I'm looking at Katie, it's right above her head on my screen.
Hello, everyone. So we got to get this going because I have a hard deadline of 12 p.m. My sister's playing in a game. I'm watching it live on ESPN if anyone's interested.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty cool.
Perks of playing for a Division I university.
As I was going to say, probably, yeah, you hear that university in a lot of, in the sports world, you know what I mean, college sports world.
Yes. All right, y'all ready?
Do it.
So, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, as always, Katie Rensler, and with me, as he always is, Nathan. Nathan, how are you doing today?
Doing good this morning, feeling good. It's a nice day out in my neck of the woods, and I'm ready to talk. It's a gorgeous day. I'm going to get outside and enjoy it after we get done with this.
Yes, same here. Why don't you introduce our guests we have with us today?
Well, today we have two very special guests, which actually both of them you heard on the last episode of Star Wars Alliance. But we have got Clay from Ranger Alliance and Greg from DC Alliance with us today. Gentlemen, how are we doing this morning?
Awesome.
This tells you how bad I am. Clay, you weren't here last episode, were you?
I wasn't, but I think
Okay.
I thought you jumped in at the end. I thought you came in right at the end.
Did I?
Yeah, I
so.
swore you jumped in right at the end as we were talking. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was 2 episodes ago. I don't know, guys. It all blends together. I know Greg was here, and I know Clay's been around, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm conflating things. It happens.
I don't podcast that much, Nathan. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
I know I see you
get
everywhere.
I get around.
So this is freaking me out. I've got the YouTube open on I've got YouTube open on one screen, and I've got Zoom open on the other screen. And the order they have us in on Zoom, as far as where your picture's at, is different than it is on YouTube, and it's freaking me out because I keep looking back and forth.
See, this is why you just press on the chat and say pop out chat, and you can get rid of YouTube altogether. And
you can do that?
Yes.
Okay, Katie, what?
If you look at the 3 little dots on chat, you just click it and it says pop out chat.
OMG.
And you don't need to have YouTube out the entire time and have it on mute. You just look at your Zoom and look at the chat.
Taught me something.
bring
Learning
us
stuff
the
new
tech
every
wisdom.
day.
I just got the notification that said Star Wars Alliance is live. So look, everything, we're going good.
We're
Yes.
live. Yeah.
I'm going to run the tweet while Nathan tells everyone the podcast paperwork.
Okay, so it's going to be a little different for the first time around here, but we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance, where you can find 9 shows 7 days a week, starting soon. Oh no, there's going to be some changes coming either way, but we got everything listed in the show notes. But you've got shows like World's Finest True Believers with Chris Baga, which I want to give a special plug that he's about to release at the end of this month. His 50th episode. Yeah, 50th episode, which is a hell of an achievement, especially for as much work and research as that man does for that show. Because I would still say not taking shots at anybody else on the network or anything, but that is the finest and most well put together show on the network because of the amount of research and work that he does with it. But I just want to say congratulations to him, because that, like I said, what an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
You've also got DC Alliance, Marvel Alliance, Ranger Alliance, Slice of Film Alliance. I don't know, Slice of Film with Katie.
Slice of film.
Yeah.
Like the Film Alliance.
Yeah, Slice of Film Alliance. It's basically, it's just the add-on. That's the part we don't say. We've also got Star Wars Alliance, which you're listening to, superhero discussions, and Weird Science Comic Roundup, Marvel and DC. There's also a Patreon account where $1 is basically the tip jar, just kind of helps keep the kyber crystals, charged, or whatever you want to say. There's a $5 tier that gets you early, exclusive ad-free episodes. And this is an ad-supported network. We don't get to pick the ads that are played, or the volume, or how many times in a row the same ad is played over and over and over again. We get frustrated just like you guys do. So sorry about that. Just bear with us. And I think that is everything.
The other thing is, if you don't mind, and we were talking about this before we went on, but if you don't mind leaving a review on your favorite podcatcher for the network. It is for the network because we're all on the same feed. So, but it does help put the podcast into feeds of other listeners who may not be following us on social media. So, with that is all the podcast paperwork. So,
Yes.
we're gonna get into it. We don't have we have some news to talk about today, not as much as last week. And they're all minor. Most of it's minor. So first things up is something I know, Nathan, you're gonna appreciate. Greg, you're going to appreciate at some point. And Clay, I don't know. Have you read anything, Thrawn?
I have not. I have been asking you guys to make me an entire list of what I need to read because I took Nathan's advice. I went ahead and got the subscription service for Audible.
Yes,
My
good
day-
choice.
See, I really should have just waited until the first of the next month and then started it then because now my token or whatever it's called is on the 13th. And I was so angry that the book came out on the 10th and I had to wait an extra 3 days without spoilers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get this book. But the next book I know comes out in June. I'm going to use this next month's to go ahead
Just pre-order
that one. But everything else between now and June, I will be using for other Star Wars content.
Yes.
Maybe that's our next episode. Maybe that's our next episode is top 5 Star Wars books you should read. So
that we could definitely do that. And Mr. Balga also came to me the other day and asked for my opinion on what to get Star Wars. He's got 2 High Republic books and then the Thrawn trilogy, the new Thrawn trilogy. And I said, oh man, that is ready to go. There you go. And so it's good. That's what I said too.
For me personally, I've been wanting to get into the Bane trilogy.
I know.
Excellent. Highly recommended.
I will reread that with you because I love that one so much too. If you start doing that one, I will just so you got somebody to talk about it with, just to refresh myself.
Well, and that came up on the last episode. So I'm in the middle of reading Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. This is the second Legends book in the whole series. So I'm reading them as I go. So I will be right there with you, Clay. I'm gonna read them too, but I'm reading them in order. So
very nice.
I'm a nerd.
That's really cool. Yeah,
you're physically reading them. I just listen to them.
No. Well,
that's what I
have you seen my bookshelf?
I will listen to something, and then if I like it enough, I will buy the physical copy.
That is me too, Clay. That is me too.
Yeah. That's what I did for the Alphabet Squadron.
Yeah,
I saw that you bought that the other day.
I might start doing that. That's a good call. Because I'm on trilogy and just audiobooks that I've read.
I'm also kind of dumb like I said, I don't like to get especially Star Wars names. Like I'll read a name and I'm going trying to sound it out and I'm like yeah that's it, and I'd rather hear somebody else say it first and I'm like, oh, I got it. So when I read it, I instantly know what it is or how to pronounce it or say it, so that's just how I go.
But the news is Thrawn related. We had the first excerpt for Greater Good released. That came out on IGN, I believe. But I'm not reading it because I have absolute faith in Timothy Zahn. So we have nothing really to talk about it. It's there if you want to go read it. But I'm at the point where I'm like, I love this trilogy already based on the first book, and I just want to read the book when it comes out. So
absolutely. Katie, I am with you that if Timothy Zahn is writing Star Wars, if he's doing anything with Thrawn, that's all I need to hear. And I go, okay, I'll read it when it comes out, or just give it to me when it does. Like I don't need to preview it. I don't need to know what he's doing because at this point I have such faith in him that I'm gonna like what he does with the character that just go with it. Sure, whatever.
Yeah. So the audiobook is being read again once again by Mark Thompson.
As it should be.
Perfect.
That is the perfect Thrawn voice.
Mm-hmm.
The voice he does for Thrawn on that audiobook is just chef's kiss. That's how it should always be done.
Yeah, and it's not just Thrawn, man. He just does an excellent job with everything on there. I almost want him to read every book to me.
He's a fantastic
I don't want to read
voice.
Anymore. I just want him to read it to me.
Voice reader, whatever you call them.
He did a great job with
Narrator.
The Light of the Jedi, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but that book releases April 27th.
I know you crushed me because I thought it was at the end of this month or beginning of next month. And
I
you're like,
did
no,
too.
very end of next month.
I
I'm
was
like, no.
Hey,
I pre-ordered
Del
it a
Rey,
long
if you want to
time
hit us
ago.
up, we would love to read it early. So just
Yeah,
you know where to
sure.
find us.
Yes.
The next bit of news, and I think Nathan, you might be able to talk about this a little bit better than I can. Charles Soule's Darth Vader is getting an omnibus to be released in August.
Really?
Really?
Face.
That okay. Hey, you know what? I did Light of the Jedi. Okay, so far High Republic hasn't caught me, but Charles Soule's book, it was good. You know what I mean? Like I like that first one. And that Vader run, like I said, oh man, like that was the first like real Star Wars like comic I read, like trade I got. And I just heard so many people talking about it and didn't know what to expect. And man, was I pleasantly surprised. It was literally a page turner that I could not stop. Now, you know, the trades are not very big or anything, but I opened cover to cover in one sitting and was just like, yes.
The very first comic that I read of Charles Soule's Darth Vader story was minor spoilers when Darth Vader fought the librarian.
Jocasta Nu.
Yes.
Mhm.
That was the first Charles Soule Star Wars book that I read, comic book that I read, and I did not stop after that. His run is completely like it's like you were saying with the Thrawn book. This is a chef's kiss. There's one annual in that storyline where basically Darth Vader is thrown onto a just random planet. And Sidious has, I think, Tarkin there as well, and it's just like, okay, go hunt each other. And Darth Vader, it is so scary how like menacing Darth Vader can be when he's on the hunt. It's so good.
So you're saying you'd recommend it?
Yes, yes, 100%.
I'm
If it's an
gonna check it out.
omnibus, like for the fact that you can have it all in one, that's gonna be even better.
Yeah.
See, and that's where I'm like, so I was wrong on the date. It does come out in October, not August. But I'm like, I've never read any of the Darth Vader comics. But I'm like, to have it all in one.
Yeah.
That's like a book to me. So
it is a book. It'll be hardcover. It'll be good.
It's so funny because when you look at comic books, whether it be Marvel, DC, any other comic,
IDW, anybody.
Yes. Star Wars, you know, when it comes to the main line, can hit or miss depending on who the character is focusing on for that thing. Darth Vader has never missed a beat with any of its writers attached to it.
Yeah.
So you can pick up any Darth Vader book, but I will say Charles Soule's, there's a reason why he went from, you know, the heroes that he was doing to Darth Vader and now, you know, being the part of the High Republic. There's a reason why.
There's a reason his book started it. There's a reason why his book started the High Republic. And I'm serious. Like, even though, like I said, it may not necessarily have hooked me in so far, it was a good, well-written book. But there, like you're saying, to your point, there's a reason why they kicked the High Republic off with him. Because he's a proven author, writer, and in the Star Wars and comic worlds, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
The run that I read is like it takes place literally after he gets off the table from Revenge of the Sith. He gets off the table and he's trying to like strong arm Sidious. You know what I mean? The Sidious puts him in his place, and like you go from there, and he gets the Kyber crystal for his red blade, and like, oh man! And if they're giving an omnibus of that entire story, like Katie said, I will have that hardcover and I will page to page that thing. I will definitely.
There is some secrets of the Sith that are revealed at the very end of that run. That makes it so worth it.
Okay.
Post credits.
Talking me into it. What'd you go grab off your shelf, Greg? I see you like kind of looking down there and flipping around here.
I went and grabbed the only Star Wars comic book that I have, and that's this Princess Leia run right here that I just got. I've just barely got a chance to crack into it. I'm actually might sit down and read the whole thing tonight. But I do want to get into more Star Wars comics because, from what I understand, there's some pretty good ones.
Yeah, the another really good one that kind of coincides with Darth Vader is Dr. Aphra.
I've heard good things about that one too. I have the omnibus on order for that.
Yeah, and it's good. I need to track at least crack an issue of that open and give it a chance because everybody says Afra is a great character, and you wouldn't think like a space archaeologist would be that interesting, but she's basically Space Indiana Jones and fucking works with Vader and tells him how it is sometimes. I'm kind of in for that. You know, I should give it a chance.
Did you listen to the audio drama, Nathan?
I did not. I have not listened to the Afra audio drama. No.
That one was pretty good, I thought.
Ooh, will you send me? Can you send me a link to that? Is it on Audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
it's an audio. Yeah, they did a drama.
I need to buy another one, so I've got a credit. I want some good.
Yeah. So that is an audio drama. It was the second one they did compared to Jedi Lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a quick follow-up, like I was impressed with because originally they were like, we're testing the waters on this, and then boom, Dr. Afra, it according to a couple interviews I read, it does sort of retell issues of the comics, but
fleshes them out more.
Yeah. And you get like Luke, Leia, Han, and everybody in there. So
it looks like it's a short read also, or a short listen. It's 5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is short.
Okay. Yeah, because Dooku Jedi Lost was like what, 12 hours, Katie? Something like that. 10. It wasn't like huge, but it was 10 or 12 right in the Star Wars pocket.
Is that another audio drama? Is the Jedi Lost?
Yeah.
Dooku, yeah, that's an audio
dramas. There's so much. Yes, audio books are great, but audio dramas are amazing.
Dooku Ventress, there's Yoda, there's Quiet, there's Peace. They touch on everybody. Yeah, it's an audio drama. They got it all. It's a cast of characters and stuff. That'd be a good one for you to listen to.
Okay, cool.
So the next thing I have on the list isn't really news related, but I thought it was interesting, and Nathan thought it was interesting too, so I thought I'd throw it in here. Andrew Winegarner is making a comic based on the Duel of the Fates script and is drawing everything out. Apparently he did a couple scenes of it when the script first got leaked. And people loved it. So he was like, okay, I'm going to flesh this all out. He says there's going to be 7 issues. And they're all going to be dedicated to specific pages of the script.
You actually shared this on Twitter the other day, correct?
I didn't share it on Twitter. I think Chris may have shared it in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it was. I was like, where did I see this? It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten a chance to read it. I actually never read the script for Duel of the Fates either. But I'm kind of interested to see how it goes. It feels sort of like a Legends-esque thing.
Yes.
So I'm gonna take a look at it probably in the next 2 weeks and be ready to talk about it for the next episode. So
I will. I listened. I personally didn't like go deep diving into the Duel of the Fate, Colin Trevorrow Duel of the Fate scrap script for episode 9. But yes, well, yeah, but I heard another show kind of give like basically the highlights and break stuff down, and they showed all the concept art, and there was some really fucking cool concept art with this and some of the things that they were going to have going on. So if this guy's read it and is going to flesh that story out and kind of take those concept art storyboard, put them in there, this is something I would absolutely like to have. Now with copywriting and all that, I know it would be hard, but I would love to have this in a trade form and a hardback to put on my shelf to go with the rest of my novelizations of the movies, because I have the novelization of every single film, and I would just really like to have that in there too. And I really want to just have it physical in my hand or read it to see what the whole story would be like to go, in one sitting, like we were just talking about with the Vader cup, just sit down and read the whole thing and see it all. But I will, if it's only online that I have to do it panel by panel on my phone, so be it, I'll do it, because I'm very interested to see his interpretation on what the scenery would have looked like around it. You know what I mean? Like, I said there's concept art for some of it, but some of this is going to be coming from his mind, from what he reads. So I'll just be very interested to see. And what I really like? I would like for this to come out, and I would love Colin Trevorrow to like read it or see it and actually give his thoughts if the guy did a good job, middle job, like might not get in depth, but if he thought like, this is kind of what I had in mind or not.
Did you say good job or middle job?
Yeah, like a middle job, like it's a middle of the road job,
All right.
So I looked at his site for the link that he posted in his original tweet, and it does have some like where Colin Trevorrow went in and like liked his original images he put up. So Colin knows it's there.
Oh shit. The most interesting thing I heard about that is And you saw the concept art is Rey was going to be wearing the exact same kind of outfit that Luke had on in Return of the Jedi, the black on black, and had even the fucking flap down that shows the white chest, a double-bladed lightsaber, and she was going after Kylo. Like, because he had Chewie and stuff, like she was going to take the fight to Kylo and the First Order, Final Order, whatever it was going to be called. She was, I'm a Jedi like my father before. Like that shit, Luke coming in Return of the Jedi, coming in and just kicking the shit out of people. Like we saw at the end of Mandalorian, like Rey was going to go in there, no fear, zero F's given, and she was going straight at him. And I would have loved to see that.
Yeah. Greg, what do you think about it? Would you check this out if it were to be put out?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would. I'm always interested in trying to find more new Star Wars stuff, and I don't dive into it nearly as deep as y'all do, but I'd like to get deeper. That sounds weird, but new Star Wars content is generally good Star Wars content. I don't hear a lot of people talking trash about a lot of Star Wars stuff as far as extra books and legend stuff and stuff beyond the movies. So for me, it's just exploring new stuff, and when new stuff comes out, I've got a ton to catch up on. So I don't know when I would be able to get to it, but yeah, I'd love to if I get the opportunity.
That's how I feel with the books right now. That's why I don't get near as in depth in like the High Republic comics as I want to right now, is because there's just so much. Like I'm in the middle of reading Victory's Price. And the only reason I bought the hardcover of this is because I read the first 4 chapters on Audible and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was like, yes. Because
who's the author of that book?
Alexander
Freed.
Freed.
Said it. And it is good. You really, Lando, isn't it? Is it worth it? Because I love Lando as a character, and I'd love to have more stuff.
This isn't a Lando book.
Well, I thought that's what you. Oh, is that your alphabet one? I thought it was that Lando one. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Sorry, I glanced at it. I just came back in, guys, for a little peek behind the thing.
And it's slow going. Don't get me wrong, it's slow going, but there's so much like payoff in this book where I was like, oh. Like I'm gonna go back and read the whole trilogy again to kind of find the links and everything he put up. So because I knew it was a trilogy too, so I was like, am I gonna buy the paperbacks or am I gonna buy the hardbacks?
Yep.
So that's what I did.
You have been singing the praises of Alphabet Squadron, one of those books, for quite a while, and that's so. I'm glad it's paying off for you. I'm glad it's something, he finished it off well for you.
They're very slow going, and that's not typically my kind of Star Wars. But everyone, and I'm not saying that I like because everyone else loves them. Like these are some of like other Star Wars podcasters and creators' favorite Star Wars books, and that's not why I'm like in love with this one. It's just because it's a good book. So
Katie, you can go with your own thing, even if you were influenced by all those people. If somebody's got problems, fuck those people. You can like what you like regardless, whether you're influenced or whether you're not. Who cares? You don't got to apologize for nothing.
I know.
I will admit,
I wanted to make sure.
I will admit that's probably one of the coolest things to come out of, like, I would say Disney Star Wars, but it's been there like for a while, even before Disney Star Wars. The fact that Star Wars has branched out to so many more things other than just Jedi, and you're learning more about them. And it really makes a concrete universe, with reading along or listening along with the audibles for High Republic. I didn't think I was going to be caring much about the non-Jedi stuff, because whenever you saw Light of the Jedi, the cover, you thought it was going to be all Jedi. And this latest book, I can't remember the
Into the Dark.
Into the Dark, there was characters in there that I was genuinely invested in, and I was like, what's going to happen? Like, I just finished that book maybe like 4 days ago. So
what did you think of Geode?
Geode?
The rock that just shows up places.
I didn't know how to picture him because I wanted to, and Nathan, you're gonna find this funny. I almost wanted to say, like, oh, it's the Thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. Like the way they
look, here's the Thing.
they describe him in a way that's like, okay, he looks like a rock. He genuinely looks like a rock, but only when you really look at him, you can kind of see anything like something more than just a rock. And it's just like, how does that even, like, how do you comprehend that? Like just reading or just listening to this thing?
I would
So
imagine like
they
a hide
did-
key, you know.
Do what?
It looks like I would imagine like a hide key. You look at it, it looks like a rock, but if you really look at it, you can tell
Mhm.
that's not a rock, and you pick it up and it's something different. That's how.
Yeah.
okay. Did they
They
actually
put
do
out-
concept art for him? Like at all?
Yeah, so they've been doing videos on like their minute-long videos on High Republic characters. They've done one on Martian Rowe, everybody else, but they did one on Leo, who's the pilot in Into the Dark, and you can see Affy and Geode in one shot of it.
Oh, I need to go look at it. I
know,
love
Nathan.
those
I'm not even saying anything.
I know, Nathan. I
those
know.
three characters, like they gave me, of course they want to have the swag and everything else of, you know, the Han Solo and the
All right.
and I genuinely thought the exact same thing. At a few points I was like, are we gonna get a Matthew McConaughey movie?
They look at
Star
the
Wars?
drawing of him. They straight up drew him to look like Matthew McConaughey.
Claudia
Except
Gray
he's got the
said
shirt down to it's open to his belly button. Like he's only got one button done by his belly button. These weird chains and stuff. And hey, I mean, it's a very strange character. Like very, very strange.
Claudia Gray.
He's a cool guy, but he doesn't like doing sex or anything. And I don't know. He's like Han Solo without the like ladies man part of it, or even the man part of it, or whatever. Like he just don't care about. I don't know, unless him and Gio are in an intimate relationship, but he's not saying anything and it's mental. I don't know. But he's a very strange.
And that's
even
okay.
The dialogue, yeah, and even the dialogue, he says like, I don't know, but yeah, like Clay said, literally, all right. If he just said that, if he did at one point leaned against the ship and said, I get older and they stay the same age, as he took his belt buckle bowl off and hit it, I'd have laughed my ass off. So this is the greatest character of all time, because they literally made Matthew McConaughey from Dazed and Confused, and like all his other, his other movies like that.
That'd be a whole lot cooler if you did.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be a whole lot cooler if you did.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick ad break and come
Okay.
back. And 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Thanks for listening, y'all. We all genuinely appreciate it. So, with that, we're gonna get into some Obi-Wan Kenobi news. So first things first, we have Indira Varma from Game of Thrones, and I think she's done something else pretty good.
She's done other things, but I only know her as one of the snakes. Well, the mother of the sand snakes, or whatever you want to call her in Game of Thrones.
Pedro Pascal's wife.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Pedro Pascal's character's wife, excuse me.
Mhm.
But she is going to be joining Obi-Wan Kenobi in a mystery role. So the role, there have been a couple like character reveals, I think the Illuminati has done, where they were talking about a couple key actresses being considered for them. Indira wasn't on that list originally. We've talked about it 5 or 6 episodes ago, but Indira wasn't on that list. But I think she still fits the role that the site was releasing.
Kenobi's gonna have a co-female lead in the show.
Yes.
And whether this is flashbacks and she's playing Satine, Duchess Satine from the Clone Wars and stuff, to give that, which I would be fine with, because they have the aging technology, obviously, to make Obi-Wan look a lot younger and to make her look a little younger. Or if this is like Obi-Wan like trying to sow some wild oats while he's getting old out there on Tatooine in the desert. If he just wants like a hut wife or whatever you want to call it, sure, fine. I'm fine with that too. But there's going to be a co-lead in it, and I'm hoping there's flashbacks in it. So if you can, if we're doing flashbacks back to Duchess Satine and stuff, well, we need to bring in Qui-Gon Jinn. He needs to come back as Liam Neeson. They can DH him. I want to see more of that. We know we're getting flashbacks to Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like, make it a whole flashback series. I don't give a shit. I'm just down to see it. I just want more Obi-Wan and the characters around him.
Well, so we know when Obi-Wan goes off that he's going to be learning more about letting his soul go and like staying as the blue ghost. and that Qui-Gon learned all this stuff. So he and Yoda
become one with the Force.
Yes, become one with the
Mhm.
Force.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, what do you think?
I don't know this character or this actress at all. I'm looking up the stuff. Indira Varma. She's not, or Varma. She's not in anything that I really
She's,
recognize. Rome, Human Target, Pride and Prejudice, like Excess Gods and Kings. She was in Bones for a couple episodes. Oh, here we go. Check this one out. Kama Sutra. Check that movie out.
All right.
Get a real good idea.
All right.
Like, what do you think?
Okay.
I'm overall, I'm really excited over this show. I think everybody is, and I think we're all just kind of waiting for that first look or any kind of set photos. You know, I don't think we will get any. I think they're going to be using the same type of technology that they use for the Mandalorian, so it's all going to be enclosed. But I am super excited about this. I know that recently there was photos of Ian McGregor like working out and stuff. He's starting to look super fit. And you know, it's gonna be. I'm very confused as of like where exactly this is gonna be as far as his timeline and how I should feel over.
We
like
know that.
Yeah.
We know when the timeline's gonna be.
Yeah, it's
You tell
about
us.
10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So Luke and Leia should be 10-ish. Because there's something else. I didn't mean to cut you off or derail, but something else to think about is Uncle Owen. He does not like the old Ben Kenobi. Like, he doesn't like him, and Luke knows him as old Ben. So there's been a meeting there growing up through their life. Like, he knows who he is. He saw him in town. He saw him somewhere, and for some reason that Uncle Owen, like, other than dropping him off at his doorstep, like, Uncle Owen's like, old Ben Kenobi. That's all right. Go ahead.
So do we think we're gonna see a 10-year Luke Skywalker in here?
I would think so.
I do.
You may not see him much because obviously we've been told Obi-Wan Kenobi's not going to take place primarily on Tatooine. Obviously, we may go in and out of it. But this kind of leads me into the next topic, which we can kind of combine the two.
Sure.
But according to the Illuminati, which I always say rumor here, Obi-Wan will have a recurring role in Andor.
Yeah, so we were talking about this very briefly in the group chat. I was kind of feeling iffy about it because I was unclear about the timeline. If it is 10 years and everything else, and if this kind of segues into Andor, like you were saying, it could make sense. So I'm going to trust you guys. I'm going to say, okay, it makes sense. And I'm excited for it. Just because Obi-Wan, since, freaking the end of Phantom Menace, has been a very top tier character for me. So I want more of him,
So can y'all see my screen?
Timeline. I like it.
Got it.
So
that like super glitched on my screen. I was like, what happened?
So you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi over here.
Okay.
And this is not up to date. This is like 2 years ago. So this does not have all the new shows on it, but I couldn't find a better one. But Obi-Wan Kenobi's around here at the same timeline as Solo. Solo is, you can see this giant leap right here. Obi-Wan takes place in the middle of Solo, which means we could still see Maul. And then Andor is right here in the middle of Rebels.
Wait, where's High Republic?
It's not on here.
200 years before all this.
It's on the last slide.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Is this one?
I don't know.
That'd be a cool poster to have right there.
Yes, I would agree.
I don't know if it just depends on the context, because Rebels is getting real close to the I don't know. It's hard because I don't want Obi-Wan to cross paths with Bail Organa or his men or whatever, because Leia basically makes it sound like Bail hasn't seen General Kenobi or really heard of him since the Clone Wars, because he's like, you helped my father during the Clone Wars, and you know what I mean, and help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. So I'm gonna watch it, but it's gonna have to be done kind of watch out, you know what I mean?
So for me, I think you can still, there's still something that causes Obi-Wan to not help the rebellion at some point, which is maybe why we get him in Andor. I was under the impression Andor and Obi-Wan were taking place around the same time, so I'm even wrong there.
Me too.
But I think there's something unforgivable that causes Obi-Wan to go back to Tatooine, and then
I think
not
more
help.
so if we remember the ending of Revenge of the Sith, like it was of very deep importance. It was it was a very deep importance that they be in hiding.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
So I think more so Obi-Wan is like wanting to keep the promise of for Yoda, and also keep his eye on Luke just in case anything happens. So that's probably why he stays on Tatooine, and something forces him to leave in his series.
And this will actually tie into the next news. Well, I don't know if it's next on the list, but it definitely ties into another show that we're going to talk about, just on the other side of the coin.
There's the updated one.
I like that.
Sorry, Nathan, continue.
Well, I was going to say that Bad Batch, their premiere date is May the 4th.
Yep.
But there's also, like, you know how I've been saying it's going to be the A-team in space. Like, you know, if you have enough money and you know where to find them, like, you know, they'll help you too, you know, and you're going to have like, you know, basically space A-team up there.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody else brought it. There's very, very strong, reliably sourced, it's still rumor, but strong, reliably sourced rumor that the Bad Batch are going to have to eventually, whether it's first episode, by the end of it, they're going to be hired to either get a child to safety or to protect another special child. But this time it's not Grogu, it's not Luke, but Leia is going to need some protection. Their baby Leia, like as she grows to be the princess, and somebody take her out, that there's a mission that they're going to have to protect her identity somehow. Maybe not actually take her off planet to do it or whatever, but you know what I mean, to protect before like Vader to find out like it's not his daughter or whatever. But Leia's gonna get some love and like protection and make sure things where it looks like Bale and his wife literally just had her. You know what I mean? Like cover it up where that is 100% their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either. And like I said, that's why I'm putting it in rumor, but it is from stronger, more reliable. It's not just like, you know, Joe Blow on Twitter being like, I think they gonna protect Leia. You know what I mean? But like it's from you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think I would be okay with that if they end up showing Obi-Wan or Luke in Obi-Wan's series, just so that way you can kind of see both of them as children and seeing the two type of lives that they live.
Absolutely.
I think that would be okay, as long as you don't make it like, hey, this is a Leia story, and hey, this is the Luke.
But also you got to remember the Leia that we run into in episode 4, she is no slouch. She knows how to fire blasters. She knows how to take care of herself. Who's to say the Bad Batch hasn't been hanging around on Alderaan and kind of helping prep her? Like Bail Organa knows who she is. He knows her child. He's not just gonna, you know what I'm saying? He prepared her. Like we see it in episode 4. She's the one that blasts open the door. It's like, oh God, jumps down to shoot first. And like, you know what I mean? She don't take no shit. She can take care of herself. It gets right in Vader and Tarkin's face and like, basically just giving them the what for. I would love it if maybe the Bad Batch, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that, or Echo, or just one of, you know, I mean, one of these clones or something is the reason that Leia either aspires to train and be something, you know, be not only the diplomat, but also the I ain't gonna take no shit, like I'll get it done myself diplomat. Kind of like we saw Padme, you know what I mean? Like I would like that kind of, you know, I mean, Luke was trained to be like, oh, we can't let him do it because he might become too powerful. Like let him just live a farm boy life. But Leia, like I said, she was brought up to be royalty, diplomacy, you know, diplomat, and take care of herself. It'd be kind of cool, like you said, to see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I will break your heart, Nathan, and tell you that.
Oh God.
I think.
Oh no.
So I think Sabe is the one that trains her to do that.
Okay. That's fine.
So because according to Princess Leia of Alderaan, which is a Claudia Gray book, young adult, it was in the lead up to The Force Awakens, I think. She goes into the young senatorial program on Coruscant and like does all the training and stuff for diplomacy and everything. And meanwhile, she knows her parents are hiding something from her. And so slowly but surely, she kind of like sneaks and tries to get some information from them to try and figure out what they're hiding, and figures out that they're leading a rebellion.
See, this is why I defer to Katie, because she is obviously the the Grandmaster of the Jedi Council, and I am just a humble servant of hers, and I always defer to her knowledge. So,
You've also got Holdo in that
on my
book.
high horse.
You've also got Holdo in that book, which I love Holdo in that book. So,
General Dern.
Does anyone else want to say anything about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor and everything?
I kind of made a joke whenever you asked me the first time, but seriously, Obi-Wan is my favorite character. I think it's Star Wars. It's my dog's name is Obi-Wan. I mean, I love the character. I love the idea of the show coming out, but like a lot of DC shows and a lot of other things, I'm waiting to see more about it before I get too excited, because I build myself up too much sometimes for these shows and I end up having a big letdown. And sometimes I build myself up and nothing ever happens. So I'm glad to see stuff, castings and stuff going on. But when I start to see trailers and stuff like that, then I'll get really, really excited. Until then, it's just an awesome idea in my head.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if we're going to... Sorry, Clay.
Well, I was just going to say, don't let this be what some people would call the next WandaVision. Theories are just theories. Okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And take rumors as they are, and then just appreciate the show when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that's why I liked Mando as much as I did, because I didn't read any theories or do anything going into Mandalorian. I just knew it was Star Wars, it was coming out, and I was going to watch it. I loved it. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying I didn't like WandaVision, but I did have a lot of things I expected that didn't come out in that. So, and I do that a lot with stuff coming out, and I'm hoping I'm not doing it with Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I'm not.
You're not. You're not.
I'm going to love that.
Saying, you're not.
So,
yeah, you're not.
Well, with that, we will take our last ad break.
Katie sounds exhausted. Snuck in Snyder Cut talk.
No, I was more avoiding the WandaVision talk because...
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We've
all got
anyways,
thoughts.
We're going to take an ad break and come back. And 3, 2, 1. And we're back. So today's main topic, of course, we're taking our next step in the original trilogy, which is Empire Strikes Back, of course. And if you're on our Patreon and listened to our Star Wars ranking episode, or even heck saw it on Twitter when Travis posted the video of it where I shocked everyone, you will know that Empire Strikes Back is in 10th place out of the 12 Star Wars movies for me. So
Mm-hmm.
Let's walk through it, y'all.
I'm going to say, Katie, I'm going to give you for at least 20 minutes to decide if I'm going to cancel you at the end of the show. Right? You got 20 minutes to convince me of your argument, or you're canceled. So just to let you know.
So, first things first, the Hoth Scenes. And I've even got From a Certain Point of View with me.
Okay.
So... I am a nerd. Shut up, Clay.
Mm-hmm.
I brought receipts.
Mm-hmm.
Brought receipts. And there's even sticky notes. There's even sticky notes. You can't see them.
Studying, building this argument.
So what did y'all think of the Hoth Scenes? I know there's
Buckle
some.
up.
Do what?
I said, let's buckle up. I'm ready.
So I really like the Hoth sequence on here. There's obviously some bits where there's just some funny lines that you're never gonna forget. With like Leia kissing Luke despite Han, or like scruffy looking nerf herder. So
Watch your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh. When I hear scruffy looking nerf herder, I immediately think Family Guy, where Peter punches her, because when he's playing Han Solo, he's like, "That's our word. You don't say that." I die laughing every time.
Oh gosh.
I'm telling you, Star Wars parody, the Family Guy Star Wars parodies are fucking hilarious. And I say this every time. Chris Balgo, when we talk about this, he laughs every time because he thinks of it too. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen them, go watch it. They're great.
I haven't seen them. So
Okay, so we're talking about the Hoth Scenes.
yes.
I enjoy the Hoth scenes in this movie. I overall really enjoy this movie. I can't remember exactly where it's at in my ranking. I think it's definitely in my top 5 or 6, in the top half. Really, really like this movie. The Hoth scenes have their moments, like you said, where there's some lines and there's some scenes where it's like, but then you got to remember the timing of the movie and understand why it's like that. But I really enjoyed them. I mean, I love the cave monster scene with it. I love Darth Vader's entrance into the base. I love the AT-ATs and the AT-STs, the walkers, the fight scene. That fight scene is, and still to this day, is the most fun scene to play in a game. Any Star Wars game is that fight scene. It's just great. There is an issue I have with it with the Star Destroyers, but it's an issue I have with Star Wars. I don't like Star Destroyers sinking after they lose power because things don't sink in space. But
Greg, guess what? They don't blow up with explosions either. There's no fucking oxygen up there. I'm just saying.
But what's a space fight scene without explosions?
Exactly. And without visual cues.
So, but yeah, it's a good scene for me. I don't know, somebody else. I'm rambling.
I really like Hoth, especially since, like, your first time watching this, like if you're first watching the original trilogy for the first time, whether it be today or whether it be back in the day, episode 4, it's you're on Tatooine, it's hot, there's sand crawlers, there's sand everywhere they're going. Then you're in space, you know what I mean? That's basically really the only place you go is like Star Destroyers, the Falcon, shit like that, you know what I mean? And in this movie, the stark contrast of like, oh no, you know, yeah, we were a sand planet here, but you know, space isn't full of just all desert planets. Like, look, here's the Hoth. Like, it's nothing but an icy terrain and cold and going, and like the way they have to adjust and adapt, and even I really liked it. I just think, you know what I mean, especially as a kid watching it for the first time, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, if you're watching the first movie and this one, it's just a great contrast, I think. And the different weaponry that is built into the snow, and then like Greg said, the walkers, like you see these things coming where like you're the audience, you know, or the guy looking in the binoculars, you know, he looks out there and you see these things kind of off the distance, you're on the screen, you're going, what, you know, what is it? And then they come into focus and you're like, whoa, all right, that's cool. Now there's literally no reason, if you're that technologically advanced, you'd build any kind of tank that had legs that would walk so slowly, but it's still cool as hell to see on the screen. You know?
For sure. I will say, when I first turned the movie on last night, I was kind of determining whether I would be able to recognize newly replaced footage with original footage, enhanced footage, for, you know, kind of seeing which was the difference. And I forgot how enhanced they made the Hoth scenes look, because I remember back in the day when you see Luke out in the snow, you know, trying to, you know, look at whatever. In the old original footage, you could barely see him because the snow was like hitting his face and everything else.
And also the screen, which is grainy as fuck, because you had old tube TVs, it was just grainy.
But they cleared all of that. And I was like, holy crap, this does look like an entirely different movie. I absolutely love the Hoth scenes just because it's so nostalgic. I think it's one of the first things people think of whenever you think of the Empire Strikes Back. You know, the whole thing with the whole crap. We got the Tauntaun? Yeah, with the Tauntauns and everything else. Han Solo holding the lightsaber for the first time. You're like,
still the only character on screen to hold a lightsaber who's not a Jedi, if you don't count the Darksaber.
Well, Luke, or technically Finn's not a Jedi either, you know, because he just had a secret.
Doesn't have force powers.
That I was going to say.
You could say
there's an argument there.
Yes, you could say when Luke touches the lightsaber in this movie too, that he's not technically a Jedi yet. So. Yeah.
But whenever I was a child, that bothered me so much because I was like, Han's not a Jedi. He can't hold the lightsaber. Blah, 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 blah. But like, I mean, it's whatever. It was a really cool idea, the way he cut the Tauntaun open. And I was just like, oh, that's kind of gross, whatever.
I remember being a kid being like, I think I'd rather freeze to death. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to be in that. Oh God.
You know, the line, there's the line, oh, I thought they were smelly on the outside.
Oh God, I know.
But okay, so I have a question for y'all. What did y'all think about like all of like, how is he going to keep him warm when technically the lightsaber would cauterize everything inside the tauntaun, preventing
body heat from the tauntaun. Okay,
the
that's what's
body heat
keeping him warm.
itself. Yeah.
And the tauntaun has the hour later skin, still has fur. If the tauntaun can survive out there in Hoth and ride it, and it's not freezing like you're riding a horse, when you get inside of it, you have the protection of its skin and
Have
its
you
fur.
ever seen the Revenant?
Yeah.
But it didn't survive. That was the thing. It was so cold the tauntaun died. That is, Katie makes a fair point.
But when you're Han and Luke in there, your body heat together. Which if you're in somewhere and you're gonna freeze together, they tell you body heat. It don't matter.
Well, if you
whatever, and you're inside
pay
the
attention
shelter.
to the dialogue, if you pay attention to the dialogue, Han says, "I'm gonna keep you in here until I build the shelter."
It's a very good point, Clay.
After he pushes them in and the camera pans out, you see him starting to grab stuff from the saddle. He's starting to build a shelter that we never see on screen. So he did probably keep him in there for quite a while. And
plus
maybe
all the
they
hot, sweaty man-on-man action in there.
And they probably did take turns, because if Han is able to stay out there for so long and Luke isn't, it's kind of questionable as far as the continuity. But I still thought, hey, it did what it had to do, in the sense of like, hey, Han saved Luke. That's all they were trying to portray. I will say, in the fight, the firefight on Hoth, Dak is the worst co-pilot in Star Wars history.
Right?
He opens up with, "Oh man, it feels like I can take on the entire."
I know.
He's like, "I'm gonna do
right,
this."
guys,
like, dude, you're not
I'm
even
gonna do
controlling
this.
the plane.
And then the next thing you see is, "Oh, I'm not ready yet." I don't know how he's being distracted. I mean, he can only look out one freaking window in the back of the freaking ship. And then in the moment, like, you don't even see him do anything. He's literally just staring out the window, and then all of a sudden he gets blown up. I'm just like, dude.
Again, I go back to this.
This movie is literally tied. If we didn't get The Last Jedi, it would be my number one spot. But Last Jedi and Empire Strikes Back go back and forth depending on when I watch them. But Empire Strikes Back.
It's not a hot take. People say that.
Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. And seeing this and actually kind of analyzing it for the first time, I was like, come on, dude. Like, you could have helped Luke so much, and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna twiddle around here, not doing anything.
I'm gonna one of these days, Clay and I are gonna do a Patreon watch along with The Last Jedi, and we're gonna watch it together. We're gonna have a discussion, because I love first of all, because we've never talked about it, and second of all, I would just love to hear that conversation on how it would go. But with the Dak thing, again, I go back to the Star Wars Family Guy parody, because Dak, when Chris goes in there as Luke Skywalker, he's like, Dak goes, I feel like I could take on the whole empire by myself. And Luke goes, all right, guys, Dak's got this. Everybody pack it up. Let's get out of here. I'm just dying laughing because he's the way he says it. But you're right. Like, he does suck. And like, poor Luke, like, he's just driving around with the dead body of his friend in the back, shooting stuff. And then like, he's gonna get smashed underneath the walker leg, and he tries to pull the body out, and he can't. And just Dak's just squished. He's done. Squished on out of there. They squished him.
Well, can I ask, what do the co-pilots or the ones sitting behind them actually do? Because they don't fire weapons.
Just firing.
They're not firing. You can watch the whole time. There's never a blaster comes from the rear of the vehicle, the rear of the aircraft.
No, but that's how they had to sit.
The hub
that's how it was set up.
Is set to look everywhere. It's not just through the back, but also the back co-pilot shoots the cable for the
yes.
engine.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, but I mean,
I need
it
a
seems like
co-pilot
that cable wouldn't be
cable.
something you'd use except for that particular situation. I don't really know why you'd attach a cable to an A-wing that you could, fly like that.
No, but it was specifically for like if you had to tow someone out or anything.
That makes sense.
They're on a snow planet. What if your A-wing slips off in the snow? You're stuck in there. You can't get it out. You need somebody else to come pull you out. You gotta have a tow cable. Yeah. Come on, Greg. You live in snow areas before. You know what it's like.
Yeah. We did a few inches here.
I just want to say, if you want to cry, if you want to cry about the Tauntaun, you should read "She Will Keep Them Warm" by Delilah Dawson in From a Certain Point.
Is it from the
Keep them
Tauntaun's
all.
point of view? Katie, is it from the Tauntaun's point of view?
Yeah.
This is exactly what I said the other one. I said I don't need to know what the janitor on the goddamn Death Star thought about, or the cook back there. I didn't need to hear none of that stuff. That's the Tauntaun going, cut me
From the
open. It's too cold out
Tauntaun's
here.
point of view. Okay.
It's such a sad story, though.
That's it.
But there's also some really good ones in here too. There's one from the perspective of someone who found them on Hoth, because the probe droid doesn't actually, it just sends images.
Wow.
So they've got people monitoring the probe droids. So this Nathan's showing us a probe droid right there.
Now, question about the probe droid.
Yes.
So they call it a probe droid here in Empire Strikes Back. In later reiterations of Star Wars, that droid is called a scout droid, is it not? Or is the scout droid just like the little ball?
I think it's just a little ball.
I thought that was the little ball one. Yeah, just the little scout. Like, yeah.
I don't think we see this droid again in the movies, do we?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Don't we see a modified version, like a modified version in one of the animated series? Is like kind of like a medical droid or a torture droid. I want to say
it's a torture droid.
Rebels. I want to say there's a modified one that they use for like a medical droid, and then there's a modified one in Clone Wars that is the torture droid. I want to say.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I know we see that design more, but I think you're right that this is the only time we hear it and see it as the probe, sent down to planet. Like they're shooting them out to planets to go and check shit out.
Well, and the person who finds Hoth also sees Luke's X-Wing landing on Dagobah. And she felt so bad about the amount of destruction that she caused on Hoth by pointing out that the rebels were there, that she deletes the footage of Luke landing on Dagobah and doesn't report him going to Dagobah.
This is an Empire person?
Okay,
I get it.
Nathan's like, shut up, Katie. I don't care about this.
I don't. No. I don't care. Like, just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for somebody. And that's how I'm firmly standing nowadays. Just because it ain't for me doesn't mean it's not for somebody.
It's an interesting.
I can still laugh at it though.
I'll say actually finding that out is pretty cool, because that was one of my questions, was going to be how did his X-Wing going to Dagobah not get recognized by anybody? But that answers it right there, and I appreciate that being there. Yeah, pretty cool.
Well, and another fun fact: the guy who walks through Han and Leia arguing in the hall with the box, they did one for him too, and he had been trying to get a position as like a fighter, but instead he kept getting turned down. It was like, nope, you need to stay as like an assistant helper person. And he actually saves a lot of the rebellion because one of the tunnels collapse, and so he points them to a shortcut that leads them out to the transports.
Yeah, you know what? This came out afterward because I played Battlefront 2, and I love the goddamn Hoth level, and there ain't no collapse tunnels in there, so everybody gets out. So that's a retcon. But that game is absolute. Like, if you like Call of Duty online and stuff, Battlefront 2 is online, and the Hoth field specifically. Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah. I loved playing on that one. It's a really good time.
If we're gonna talk Hoth and video games, the best one is Force Unleashed.
I agree. That's the best Star Wars video
DLC.
game.
The DLC that you add to the very end, where you can
Force Unleashed is a shame that it's not canon, and that Starkiller is not canon, because those games were fantastic and they had some great story.
If they ever remaster it, if they ever remaster it, you need to get your hands on it.
It's a great game. I'd play it now.
It's awesome. I remember being blown away at the story. Sorry, I know you're trying to talk. I'm just saying, I remember being blown away at the story.
I did actually get The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2 book novelizations.
Okay.
So they're legends.
Maybe I need to do that.
But that's what I picked up. I bought 17 Legends book. Matt was not very happy with me, but I picked those two up, so I will be reading them.
Cool. Let us know what you think. Cool. I don't remember the story between Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2. I just remember how awesome the gameplay was.
Well, I remember the first one mainly of like what? Vader's gonna get an apprentice and he's strong as shit, like just playing as Starkiller, you know what I mean? Like, what is his name? Galen. Mm-hmm. But he comes, I remember playing, you got the two lights. Those games were awesome. They were awesome.
Yeah, the next best Star Wars game has got to be that Rogue Squadron on 64 back in the day. Like I'll always tell everybody, I'll go back and play that game over a lot of games that are right now on PS4 and PS5, just because that game is so fun.
All right.
Okay,
Y'all ready for
next.
Dagobah?
Yeah.
Dagobah. Yes, let's do it.
Dagobah.
And I'm just kind of hitting. I know this isn't really in the flow of the movie, but I'm just kind of hitting everything kind of at
That's
once.
fine.
So
Hey, you're the driver of this ship. We're along for the ride, Katie. However you want to go.
So Dagobah, we meet Yoda, and okay, I realized, Clay, you said you hadn't watched this movie since your Last Jedi rewatch for everything. I'm thinking it's about the same for me. It's been a while since I've seen this because I didn't remember Yoda being so funny in this scene.
Oh, I think that was the biggest trope of this film, as far as like, oh, okay, the hero goes and is going to go train and be a better, hero. There is always the crazy old man that is going to help said hero go on his path.
Yeah.
So Yoda being this hilarious being, this hilarious alien, was one of the biggest tropes probably in the 80s. So I really enjoyed it. It very much felt like anything from like a Never-Ending Story, or just anything within that realm of, using puppets and stuff to tell these stories. I really enjoyed it, seeing him be in that capacity when I was watching it last night.
Technically, I think Yoda was the blueprint for your Never-Ending Stories and stuff like that, to have that kind of character, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I did like Yoda's kind of comical relief in this one, and I think it's dual purpose for the reason why they had there. One, there's no telling how long Yoda's been there by himself, and if you've been somewhere by yourself for X amount of time, you're gonna act crazy the first time you see someone.
There is. It's been 19 years.
Yeah.
20 years. Or no,
Okay.
wait. How long is it between the 1 and 2, 3 years? So yeah, it's been 21 years he's been there.
Go that long without talking to somebody and see what happens. So I can understand that. And two, I think he's testing Luke at this point.
Yes.
Testing how he's going to react to it. It's nothing is adventurous or exciting about what he's doing. And adventure excitement, a Jedi seeks not these. So he's teaching Luke what's going on and then seeing how he's going to react to it. So I think there's a lot of purpose in the way he was acting when they first meet, because it immediately changes after he kind of reveals himself to be Yoda.
See, Greg, and I'm glad you said that, because I didn't have to say it, because a lot of people, sorry, Clay, like I know it's kind of derailed, but a lot of people go, oh, Luke in The Last Jedi, he's trying to be like Yoda, laughing, yuck, yuck, yuck. No, Luke was a fucking curmudgeon throwing the lightsaber over there and just brushing his shoulder off, fucking using whatever. Yoda, like Greg just said, it was a test. They don't seek, look at me, think you can't underestimate your opponents. I might look like a fool of stuff, but little do you know, I'm the most powerful goddamn Jedi left on in all the galaxy. You know what I mean? It was a test. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally agree with you, and I'm glad you said it before I did, because it was some testing. Because, like you said, as soon as he reveals himself, that charade's gone. Like that charade's gone. He's going. He is Master Yoda again. You know what I mean?
He immediately recognizes, and he talks out to Obi-Wan, and he's like, I cannot train him. He is too impatient. And that's when Obi-Wan is like, oh, well, he can learn. He can, this is his kind of destiny type thing. I do like the switch, because we know now through the lens of how many films, who especially, like, I know a lot of people give it crap, but I will say, giving Yoda the ability to fight the way he did in Clone Wars.
I love it. Love that.
Yeah.
Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where he's flipping his shit all around. I love it.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool. But seeing who he was and seeing him now in Empire Strikes Back, that this has to be some sort of game that he's playing. But seeing it in the eyes of like, okay, this is our first introduction to Yoda as a character. Okay, he's playing this game. He knows who Luke is, because he even says, oh, like your father was a very powerful Jedi. This is the same thing that even Obi-Wan was saying back in A New Hope. So Luke kind of is going through the motions again with the exact type of character. Yeah. But I really enjoy Yoda as who he is in Empire Strikes Back so much.
Well, it says a lot that with everything going on in this movie, and especially the way it ends, which was not a thing back in the 80s, you know what I mean, where the bad guys win, but that Yoda was the breakout character of this movie and this franchise. That he is the very instantly he was iconic, and everybody could not get enough of Yoda. He was everywhere. Like literally, it was the Muppets come again. You know what I mean? Like when the original Muppets came, Kermit and Miss Piggy, that shit was a phenomenon. Like Yoda became instantly like the face of the franchise after this movie, and the blueprint for, as you said, these other movies and other characters to come, even whether it be in puppet form or whatever form. Like he became the blueprint and is instantly iconic.
And I just think he was supposed to be a monkey. You know?
His name was supposed to be Mensch too, like because like he was going to be a Mensch.
Was he really?
Jewish. Yeah, his name was
no idea.
The original name
the original
was
intent
Mensch.
was for him to be a monkey. Yeah.
See,
crazy.
Now I need a Jedi chimpanzee type alien in Star
Yeah.
Wars.
So I actually, one of my coworkers found the original trilogy without the edits, and he gave them to me on a USB. Sorry, not sorry, but you can't find them anywhere. I've never actually seen the original movies. I've only ever seen the special editions.
Especially the Cloud City in this one's much.
Yeah, because that's what I've been told is like in Cloud City, and yes, this is skipping ahead. I don't really care. In Cloud City, like when they're walking through the building and you see those windows weren't there originally. It was just all building.
All white. It was like like imagine the most sterilized hospital kind of look. Like it was just, you know what I mean? It was just all white. Like that is, so spoiler alert, that is one of the best things the special editions ever did for any of these movies is gave Cloud City so much personality and beauty to it and made it look 10 times better.
Yeah. I would agree. Some of the windows still look a little bit awkward in their CGI, but it overall it looks pretty good to me. So, what did y'all think about the cave scene where we see Luke have this battle with himself and he confronts his darkest tendencies?
I still remember how I felt the very first time I watched it as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh, Darth Vader found him. Like, this is going to be such a really cool fight. Like, I'm sitting at the edge of my seat, like, oh my gosh, like, is Yoda going to come help him? Like, what's going to happen? And then when he strikes him down, I see this helmet just like completely fall off. I'm like, he cut off his head. Like,
yeah.
What? Like, oh my gosh. And then when you see Luke's face when it shatters and opens, I had nightmares for like a week.
Yeah, I did too.
It was terrifying.
This is one of the reasons this movie is at the back of my list is because I watched this movie when I was like 4 or 5. And I just could not get that image out of my head. Like, oh my gosh, he just cut off his own head. Ah!
You know what it did? Like I was exactly like Clay, like seeing it, and I was like, oh my God, like he found him. Like I was the same way. I'm like, is Yoda and Luke about to team up? Is it about to be like a new master and apprentice? And when that happened, I do remember being kind of like, what? But not to skip too far ahead or whatever. But this is one of the first movies I made connections. Like the light bulb went off for me because at the end was, no, I am your father. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, I was like, oh, he sees himself in it because that's his dad. And like my little brain was like, click, 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 click. I get it. That's it. Now, whether that's what especially what it's supposed to be, that's what went off in my head. And I felt all like, I get it. I understand stuff. Yeah. And like, so it was just like it was, to me, I was like, all proud and puffed. Like, yeah, I understand. Shit. I see nuances.
I'm smart.
Yeah, exactly. I see nuances and didn't even know what nuances meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Clay. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's just the fact that like when that happens, like I freaked out as a kid. On my other rewatches, you know, eventually I think what was it? I think Spike back in the day used to have Star Wars marathons, and then TNT had them and all of that.
TNT still does.
Yes. So when I started watching those and watching the scene, I appreciate it so much for what Nathan was saying about how it is an actual like foreshadowing of like, hey, there is a connection here. And even more so the way Luke is seeing himself as like kind of the story, just like how Yoda was saying, that like there is still a possibility that, because at that point when we are seeing him face this Darth Vader, quote unquote, we know that Darth Vader and Sidious, or Palpatine, sorry, have talked and said, oh, if he can join us, he can be a great part of the Sith and the Empire. So you now have in the back of your mind, will they actually bring him to the dark side? So it's still that battle, and there's that internal struggle. And, you know, to go along with the whole like, oh, he's impatient and all of this stuff, you know, we all know that some of those characteristics are for people who struggle with the dark side. So seeing that now and knowing what all that means, it's a really cool experience to see it now in those eyes.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I saw it a lot different whenever I was younger than I see it now. When I was younger, Clay, I was just like you. I saw him fight Vader. I was excited about it. He got his head off. Awesome. And then now I look at it more as he went in there unprepared and not ready. He attacked when he shouldn't. You know, the first thing he does is attack. And because of that, you see, this is what you'll become if you continue down. You're doing things this way. You know,
your father did.
Yeah, that your
Look
father
at Anakin.
did. So,
Anakin was strike first, ask questions later.
And I think that's the lesson that he's being taught in that moment. You know, patience, basically.
Yes.
So
yes, read the situation, know what you're dealing with. Not everything is always as it seems. You know, which is a good lesson for Jedi. Like, you know, how many times now, I know in the original trilogies, all we had was these 3 movies, but knowing what we know now with all these novels, whether it be Legends or in canon and these animated series, you know, we know that like the Jedi, they have to practice. Not everything is always, you gotta see the real, you know, or where it's really coming from or what this is all about. You know, you can't take things at surface or face value all the time. You need more evidence. You need to really be concrete on what what you think you're seeing. It's like we all just said, as kids, we always are like, oh, fucking Vader found him. You know, like that was our first instinct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, and I guess, Clay, you've kind of already brought this up already, but like looking at the scene compared to The Last Jedi and like seeing like the haunting in his eyes, I think this moment haunts Luke when he points the lightsaber at Ben, because it's just okay, wait, what have I done? What have I done now? So, and he's not reading that situation properly, and it just kind of backs him up. So, Nathan, why do you disagree? I see you over there shaking your head.
No. I'm not he just like Last Jedi talk.
He twitches at the one notice of The Last Jedi. He just twitches.
I go,
yeah.
I don't know. I like I said, personally, we're not talking about The Last Jedi. Let's move on to the next subject here. I see, like, I'm gonna be the bigger man, and I'm gonna walk away from all that, and let's go to the next.
Well, I think the Dagobah scenes really work. I mean, we know that Yoda went there because there was a strong presence of the dark side, and that cave is really a big indication or big hotspot for the Force. I mean, the Jedi Temple on Coruscant was built on a Sith dark side hotspot to kind of
on a Sith temple.
Yeah,
built on top of the ruins of a Sith temple.
Yeah, so
slap in the face.
That's why Palpatine takes it as his palace. But I think the cave being there really helps hide Yoda, but also gives him that balance, because he knew when Yoda and Obi-Wan split up, they knew, okay, Obi-Wan's going to kind of take point on initial training, which he does with Luke in New Hope, and then Yoda would finish the rest of it.
Really? See, because I saw it as Yoda was going to learn to become one from Qui-Gon, and the younger, more like Obi-Wan was sent to be the knight, to be the shield, because Yoda had more. He still had more training, and he needed to learn to be able to pass it down. Plus, he's 900 years old. Like, I love his flipping around stuff, but he's going to be noticeable out there. Obi-Wan can be the shield. He can be the shield in the night. You know, the sword, whatever he needs to be. Obi-Wan he's still, young, spry. He's got more years ahead of him to take better care of him. That's just how I saw it.
No, it's not that. It's more of, okay, they would go to Dagobah to get the rest of their training. It's not like Yoda would come back out to the world. But it was
I see what you're saying.
See, that makes sense, but that's not ever how I looked at it. I always looked at it as I thought Obi-Wan was going to be the guy who originally was going to train Luke. We didn't realize he was going to run into Vader and get, taken out, which, by the way, if y'all have never watched the remastered or reinvented version of that fight, it's effing amazing.
Sped up. Yeah.
It's so amazing.
I don't like it.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I think it's so amazing.
Greg, you're going to have to send me that.
Okay.
But I think really good. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah. I think that just that's the way I've always looked at it, is I think that Obi-Wan was originally going to do all of the training. Like, I'm not saying you wouldn't have ever met Yoda and gotten his blessing, or he wouldn't have taught him some things, but I think Obi-Wan was going to be his guy. And then they ran into Vader, and you see what happens. They had to adjust fire. But I could be wrong. There's a lot of different interpretations for it.
So how do you think the tide of the Civil War would have changed if Luke had stayed on Dagobah and hadn't gone to Cloud City?
I think it would have changed tremendously. Well,
I think, honestly, not to cut you off, Greg,
no, go ahead.
but like the way Vader was planning everything, not much would have changed. I mean, Luke would have kept his hand, but like he said, hey, you're gonna keep the Wookiee and Leia, and I'll deal with Luke, hoping that it would be some sort of bait. If he hadn't showed, I mean, they would have just been waiting. And now I know that Darth Vader would have shown some sort of initiative doing something to probe at Luke. But other than that, I think it probably just would have been a standstill.
I think it comes down to, it depends on what you're talking about as far as never went to Cloud City. Does he never go to Cloud City because he knows that the trap is set with Han and chooses not to go because Yoda tells him to? Or is the trap never set? Because those are two different scenarios, and I think you get two different results based on that. I think that if the trap's never set, then, right, he never loses his hand. He doesn't find out that day that Vader's his father. It changes the entire complexity of everything moving forward. If he just chooses not to go, it still changes things, but I think you still end up with him finishing his training, going to save Han, on Tatooine from Jabba and Return of the Jedi, and then everything moves forward in a similar fashion.
But he would still have to go to Cloud City to get Chewbacca and Leia.
Not necessarily, because Vader says, right. Vader tells Lando, take them to my ship.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I was going to say it changes things drastically, because Vader is, like you guys just said, the trap is already, he is going there anyway with the intention. He knows that Han, however he knows Han and them are going there. Without Luke being there to occupy Vader, Lando never fucking Lobot. You know what I'm saying? Like, where he gets Lobot to turn on him. You don't have Chewie finding, like, C-3PO stays scrapped. R2-D2 runs around, but basically you have Leia. He's going to take Leia, and he's already tortured her once for information. This time he's going to torture her more and get all the information when he takes her back to Sidious, because he's going to his ship. They're taking the Super Star Destroyer to the Emperor. If Luke doesn't go, the thing that changes the most is, like, Vader's not distracted, so our heroes don't go. Most likely they get killed, or every bit of information on everything gets found out by Leia being tortured again, or Han, or whatever. It changes everything. The only thing that it really changes is Luke comes in as a fully mastered Jedi to take on Vader. Only this time there's been enough time, he doesn't get that moment of I am your father, all that. The Emperor and Vader together take Luke down, and the whole rebellion falls. This is pivotal that Luke disobeys Yoda and goes and does this. It's pivotal to the entire rebellion and the entire story, in my opinion. Because if you don't have Luke distract Vader, even though he's not ready, and find out he's his father and get that emotional connection, Vader doesn't make that switch in the next movie to help him overthrow the Emperor. If Luke takes on the Emperor and Vader together, he's fucked. I don't care how good he is.
But you don't think even Vader would still take the initiative to say that he is his father? Like,
by the time we get to the Return of the Jedi, though, like If Luke doesn't go, he doesn't know about it at all. The next time we see Luke go in to interact with Vader is he's going to Coruscant or the Super Star Destroyer where the Emperor and Vader are to get his friends back. By then, the whole rebellion could have been taken down from the torture, and he's going in guns blazing as fully formed Jedi to go in and fight.
Well, actually, the next time you see them together is actually an Endor before they go into space, and they're having that conversation in that little space tube. And I think
true.
I think
that doesn't happen though. That doesn't happen because Han's already taken away. He doesn't know where because you don't have Lando and Lobot and all them turn on to go out. You don't have that twist at the end.
Yeah, it's like I said.
He never goes to Endor. He never goes to Endor. The next time he sees Vader is when he's pissed off and he goes straight to either the Super Star Destroyer or to Coruscant to faces directly off with him. You don't get that emotion. It all changes, every bit of it. Yeah, it's all pivotal that Luke disobeys Yoda and goes. The Force willed him to disobey and go.
Yeah, and I can say the only difference I think there is that had he not gone, he would have finished his Jedi training earlier. And
exactly.
So I don't think he would have gone in guns blazing because he would have then been a full on Jedi. But
okay, you're right. But he goes in thinking that he can handle it fully trained as a Jedi.
Right.
And I think, like I said, he does without the help of Vader to take down the Emperor. Luke is done. He can barely hold Vader off. He can barely, and then when the Emperor starts shocking him down and stuff, it's over. Like I said, the Endor doesn't happen. None of that happens. The next time Luke and Vader see each other is he's going full bore to get his friends back. And I don't think it ends the same way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say could barely hold Vader off, though. He cut his arm off, and he pretty much could have killed him if he didn't stop. I mean, he beat Vader.
You're right, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
but you're right. Vader saved him from the Emperor for sure.
Yeah, because if it wasn't for Vader saying, coming back to the light, me and Anakin, Luke is dead. He's the Emperor's holding him down and laughing about it. Just blue shocking the shit out of him. Yeah. I just want him to be ultimate power and get me. I think it's pivotal. I say all that to say I think it is pivotal that Luke listens to the Force and disobeys Yoda. And that is how the rebellion is won. This is the pivotal hinge moment.
I agree.
Some good points. I would agree with Nathan. So I'll leave it at that.
Air high five.
Air high five. So let's talk about Leia and Han during this time. Leia, Han, Chewie, and 3PO, of course. So they go to take off from Hoth, and all of a sudden they find out their hyperdrive's not working. Which to that I say, why was Chewie working on everything else but the hyperdrive if the hyperdrive wasn't working? So
I think it's 3PO explains it, doesn't it?
It's the one silly plot hole that it was just like, hey, we need this to tell the story.
Well, no, see, 3PO explains it. He says the hyperdrive was damaged in this, and that's why it's not working. I noticed before we took off, the hyperdrive was damaged in this, and that was one thing they didn't notice. So they let you know that.
What I'm saying is, because near the end, skipping all the way to the correction of the hyperdrive, is R2-D2 snapping his fingers and boom.
Yeah.
So it's just that one little thing that they keep tripping on in order to move the story forward. I understand that it's silly, but it is just what it is. But as far as them, the hyperdrive is not working. They get tailed by the Empire for so long, and they go into the asteroid field. I love that line that Leia was like, "Hey," it was Han. He's like, "Hey, well, you wanted to see me leave or finally mess up. Now you're gonna get get your chance."
Yeah, I think the asteroid field, going into the asteroid field, that's exactly what I would do. It's a great idea. I don't care. It's ballsy, but it worked. And it gives you a great scene next, too, which is cool because watching the next scene, is it Minox? Minox.
Yes.
It was cool because now that I'm reading some Star Wars and I hear that kind of stuff in different Star Wars books, that was a big thing in the Thrawn, I think it was treason, was Minox. And I was like, oh, cool. I recognize that from that. And that's cool to see that connection there. So it's pretty fun.
So I thought the mouth that they flew in was a Purgle, which is in Rebels. It's not actually a Purgle. It's a, excuse me, it's an Exogrowth.
Sure.
Big sock puppet.
I looked it up last night because I was like, that's a Purgle. And then I was like, wait, is that a Purgle? And so I looked it up.
So I recently just finished Rebels. Where does the Purgle get
Space
introduced?
whale. That's what the space
okay,
whales are called.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Nathan just pops up. He's off screen, just pops up out of nowhere.
No,
Space whale.
like I knew them as space whales. Like I didn't even hear the name of it when I was watching it. Okay.
Yeah, but it looks like the Purgle in Rebels, but it's not. So key point there.
Okay.
So I obviously this stuff is just to kind of keep you moving. There's some cool lines that.
Oh, wait. Sorry. While we're on the asteroids, though, I know it's retroactively we know this, but after you watch episode 2, now you know where Boba got the idea to release that fucking thing in the asteroid field, that detonator. Obi-Wan does it to him in episode 2 when they're flying out of there. So I just like how circles around. Now we know that retroactively after the prequel trilogy came out, but since that technically happened first, now with that knowledge, watching the scene, you go, oh shit, he learned that from Kenobi.
Well, and since you mentioned retroactively
cool.
knowing, obviously 3PO goes, wow, your ship has the most peculiar language. And
yes, I know.
From Lando's droid and Solo.
Yeah,
you are the one who said retroactively.
Right.
Yes, I know.
I do want to say in that scene where they're on the asteroid and they're in the mouth of whatever that creature is, there's when they first realize it and the ship's shaking and they're trying to figure out what's going on. I did notice, and I never noticed this before. There's the part where Leia falls back on Han Solo, right? And they're kind of leaning back and talking for a second. And then Han like gets up to go away. He completely grabs her by the boob and lifts her up and puts like his hands are just wrapped around both of them. And I never noticed that before. And I was like, I do remember, I guess they did hook up like when this was going on. So that makes sense. But he just completely grabs her, just both of them, picks her up and puts her forward. And I was like, okay.
If we're in an earthquake or if I'm in a giant mouth and like somebody falls back into me, Greg, if you fall back into me and I'm freaking out trying to get to the ship, but if I'm just getting you off me, I might grab your boob and get you off me. I mean, I don't think it was. I think you're just getting off.
It's not intentional, Greg. Okay.
Right.
We forgot
it's an unintentional squeeze.
Yeah.
Yes,
we forgot to mention too that Leia and Han scenes are typically shot with Leia on a box because she's so short.
That's true.
Yes,
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie Fisher.
I love that outfit she's wearing in this scene in particular. Dude. That white suit, that hair, the white suit. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's my Disney princess.
Like I understand Han is like starting to like connect the dots while they're in there, but like, was it really the smartest thing to be like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot this thing?
Right?
Like,
and it is an exogorg, by the way.
Like instead of like testing and like instead of like testing his theory by like wiping his hand on the ground, the what is it called again?
Exogorg.
The exogorg's like tongue, or like it's the inner mouth or whatever, seeing the saliva and stuff. No, I'm gonna shoot it.
Again, Star Wars parody. They do the same thing. Peter as Han Solo goes, but you shoots it, and the whole thing goes. He goes, wait a minute, and he shoots it like 15 times in a row. Keeps saying, wait a minute every time, and it's fucking hilarious. So they definitely hang a lantern on that. So it's funny.
Yeah. So does this take us to Cloud City, or is this anything else I'm missing?
I think we go to the city.
Do we want to talk about Boba Fett a little bit before that?
Yeah,
Boba Fett.
Boba.
Yeah, because there is a lot of bounty hunters you recognize on that ship, and they're being recruited, or at least you've seen in other Star Wars before. What's the lizard guy's name?
Bosk.
And he's in Mandalorian, isn't he?
His creatures are the species are.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
The IG-88. There's an IG-11 that's in Mando, but that's that's IG-88 right there, and then you have Dengar.
Bosk has his own like mini arc in one of the Star Wars comics.
Okay.
And I believe he actually shows up in Dr. Aphra. So
Bosk shows up a lot in the Clone Wars. Bosk himself shows up in the Clone Wars.
There's a series called Bounty Hunters, which is mainly a Boba Fett thing, but they do show or highlight some of the other guys. Bosk being one of them.
Yeah. But this is our first introduction to Boba Fett in Star Wars, correct? This is the first time you ever see him?
Yep.
The voice changed, but yes.
Yeah. Man, it looked awesome. I remember seeing that when I was younger, absolutely loving it. But I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, it became iconic. It became iconic just off the look alone.
Well, and also speaking of like just our little like snippets of the Empire, the fact that Vader is just going through generals,
like they're candy,
is great. I know that it would probably be pushed as a little bit more on the comedic side nowadays, but one general messes up.
He'd be saying your mama jokes and stuff.
Oh god,
is that what you're saying?
No, it's more so no, it's just there was the moments of the Force Awakens and I would say any and all of the sequel trilogy. There was moments where Kylo Ren or any of the Empire were angry and they would do something, and it was met with laughter in the theaters. They saw it as some sort of comedic moment. Here, I think it's like
emo Ren throwing temper tantrums.
Exactly. But the presence of Darth Vader just makes it that much more eerie, because you see him say, "Oh, I will take full responsibility of this endeavor." It switches to a scene, I believe it's either Luke or Han and Leia and all them in the asteroid field, and then you go back to the Empire, and the next thing you know, he's falling on the ground.
Right.
Well, to your point, there was a reason that they did that, to show how entrenched Vader was. Just didn't care about life. And the guy that he settles with, the last one that we see take the position after his encounter with Luke, to show that him and Luke talking and just being that close and the battling like that, unlock the door to let Anakin back in the light. If you notice that is in Return of George made it a point to bring that same guy back for Return of the Jedi, to show that Luke or that Vader had a little bit of light starting to come into him, because otherwise he would have killed it. He forgives that guy and he's still going. Because like you said, we see him just going through people in this. And after his encounter with Luke, the light comes back in, which Anakin's starting to break through the darkness. And to show that visually, Lucas made sure that guy came back, and there was a scene with him and Vader in Return of the Jedi.
Though I'm going to be honest, I could not tell the difference between all three admirals.
But jeez, Katie, we don't stereotype. Jeez, stereotype.
No, I was literally because
they were all old white guys,
You brought this up before, Nathan, about how he goes through these, and then Luke goes through it. So I was trying to pay attention to all the people coming up and going through the position, and then I'm like, wait, wasn't he the guy that got killed last time? And it's just like, what the So that yes, they all look the same.
I got it.
So Cloud City. Obviously we meet Lando for the first time.
Beautiful. Billy D, that smooth son of a bitch.
Yep. And fun. The Cloud City is mining Tabana gas, which is used for hyperspace travel.
I was gonna say, we know it's fuel.
Hello, Obi.
Obi-Wan joining the conversation.
I was gonna say hello there.
He was standing outside the door.
Like I said, I love Billy D and Lando. He just comes in cooler than the other side of the fucking pillow. Comes in there just laying. He just instantly, his presence is felt in here. Like you just feel like there's a lot of history with Han and him just before we even know anything. It's really well done. It's really well set up, and I think Billy D has a lot to do with that. Just the way he portrayed, carries himself in real life. Like he brings a lot of gravitas, and he brings that to the roles that he does.
Oh, definitely.
And I like how we now know, because of Solo retrospectively, that of course they were fighting over the Falcon.
Yeah.
And here you see him kind of more engaged with the idea that Leia doesn't really trust the Falcon. He's like, oh, it's like the fastest ship in the galaxy. He even is defending Han in some of those situations regarding the Falcon. So I really like that as well.
Yep.
You think he thinks Han's a cheapskate because he never replaced the nose cone escape pod? You think he's like, this motherfucker, it's been 15 years and he still hasn't got a new nose cone for that son of a bitch for the pod. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah, but maybe he just expects that he's going to go down with the ship. He's never going to use the escape pod.
Yeah.
Well, hey, real quick before y'all get into the next topic, I got to get going. Lunch plans came up that I wasn't aware of, but got to do the family stuff. I appreciate y'all having me on. Empire's awesome. I love this movie, and I guess check me out at the Bat 52 Geek Ultimate Alliance Network.
No worry, Greg. I got to be wrapping up before long too, a little behind the scenes. So
me too. I got 25 minutes.
There you go.
Right.
All right,
we will cut it. Yeah, we will cut it pretty soon.
Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for having me on, and I'll talk to y'all again later today. I'm sure.
Later.
Yeah.
Later.
Bye.
Now, Katie, we have been through a lot of this film, and I haven't really heard any hot takes from you.
I haven't either.
Like you've kind of been like kind of disagreeing, but not necessarily like tearing this movie a new one. So what's going on with all this?
So before I answer that, I will leave Greg's stuff linked in the description box below, of course, as I always do. So if you're interested in where he's at, check him out below. The reason I hate this film so much, okay, I don't hate this film. It's a very good film. I don't deny that. It's got a lot of great perks. I think
have to start covering now. Just say it. Let's hear it. Then you can backpedal.
It's definitely one of the better sequels to a movies, like to the originals. Definitely up there. My issue is I saw this movie when I was 5 years old. And so we see, I said it first with the cave scene, the Luke's head rolling. He just cut off his own head in that moment. Like doing that. That scars me. And then the Han torture scene scars the crap out of me. And we don't see anything. Yes, I know. But Han was my favorite character at that point. And to hear your favorite character at 4 or 5 years old screaming after you see him like leaning down to go into the torture chamber. Oh my gosh. Sorry, that's my dogs. But to see him go down into a torture setup thing and then hearing him scream from behind the door can scar you very much so, as me being me.
So this movie is on your lower tier for the fact that they did a really good job at portraying the fact that the villains were always supposed to be the winners in this movie.
That's what I'm hearing too.
Yes.
They did a good job of really making you feel defeated, of like, damn it, my heroes they got their asses kicked.
This was the first movie that I probably watched where the villains won. Like honestly.
Mine too. Mine for sure.
And it wrecked me, but when I was able to actually consider like what that means for the series, what that means as far as like film goes, like that's what makes it so good.
I think.
But that's what also hurts me.
Yeah. As I said, I think that's why. I think that exact reason is why I liked it too, because at the time I had seen this was when the VHSs came out in that trilogy pack. Was it 95? I would have been 9, coming on 10.
I would have been 0.
I had already learned that the world sucks, and sometimes the bad guys do win. You know what I mean? Like in real life, like you know what I mean. No matter what you do, like I was getting history lessons. You know what I mean? Like so sometimes bad guys win, and I just knew that was a part of it. And I was like, whoa, these guys are hanging a lantern out like these evil pricks. You know, I don't know. I just. But I also was well aware that if there's any spark of hope, no matter how dire the situation is, there's always a chance. You know what I mean? And at the end, our heroes are all back together. Yeah, well, I mean, besides Han, but you know, his hands cut off, they're beat up, they're battered, they're in tatters, they're a ragtag group that's the only ones left, but they're together and there's still that tinge of hope. You know what I mean? Like, so like like I said, by the end of it, I'm like, all right, well, Luke and Leia are together. Chewie's here. We got the droids. We picked up a new friend in Lando. Like, let's go get Han. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's still like we can come back from this. So I don't know. That's why it really worked for me.
It's not even that the bad guys win in this case, because I agree, it's a great movie, but I could not handle the torture scene, and it still scars me to this day.
Well, that's you know what, that makes me feel a lot better than that. It's not like you had this some huge like hot take of like this movie sucks because the filming sucks.
Well, no, see, I almost felt like
as a kid.
Yeah, I felt like it was gonna be not on the same level, because I know you guys are somewhat above it, Nathan. Trashing The Last Jedi type of negativity of this movie. That's what I was worried for. I was like, that's why I was like, I need to be on this episode so I can defend this movie with my life.
I thought it was gonna be something like that too, to where I come, because whatever. We're not, like I said, we're not bringing that other movie up, but like I try to at least explain the reasonings for how I got to my criticisms for that movie. And like, so I was wanting to hear Katie's because I know Katie's very well read and very well thought out. So if she had a hot take, I knew she was going to come with like notes to back it up of like, no, this is why I did it, you know? So I was expecting, like you said, her to come in and be like, well, guys, let me wreck you because this doesn't make sense because of this, you know what I mean? So I was ready for that too.
No, it's literally just the Han.
That makes me feel better. Yeah, that makes me feel better. That it was just like you as a kid, you love that character so much, you were like, you know what, I'll never fucking forgive this movie. And here we are, you know, however many years later, and Katie's like, still, I'm not forgiving this movie for torturing my man. You know, like that's my character.
But I also think that the moments that like scarred you also bring out the best of other characters, such as the whole thing with Han. It devotes Leia to become like even more of a badass and even more determined to get him back. You know, to the point where she does take the disguise of a bounty hunter, and then like in the opening scene of the next movie, so
she's threatening the entire palace with a thermal detonator. Like, you know, she's like, "God, giving a shit." The thermal detonator, like, get in there.
It's so good.
It also delivered one of the best lines in movie history. I love you, I know. And like that shit is so quoted. It's so good. Like I even remember Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where like they're gonna freeze Fitz so that he sleeps through time. And like before you do it, the other character, I forgot his name, he's like, they're looking at each other and like Fitz is there and says, or the one dude looks at him and says, I love you. Fitz says, I know. And like they're doing it and they laugh at each other because they're doing the thing from Star. I don't know. It's just very iconic.
Well,
you know,
it's very
delivers
iconic.
That.
I don't hate this movie so much because that line, I have the like the line said, like I had Matt's wedding ring engraved with I love you and he had mine engraved with I know on it.
That's
so like
cool.
I like that, like that's
Jamie would never go for that.
I told him I wanted it. I told him I wanted
there's so
it,
many things that I feel like the Star Wars franchise is so iconic for, and a lot of them come from this movie.
Yeah.
From this one in particular. And I think that is to show that, like, hey, this is a really good movie. I think this brought up the trope of the villains winning more so in film because of this movie.
It's the mainstream.
Brought it to the mainstream. So like I said, I will defend this movie with my life every single time somebody wants to argue with it. But for me, whenever it comes down, like there was a moment that I was watching it here last night, or technically I watched the last 30 minutes right before we started recording.
I did too.
When Luke falls, he is technically using the Force to get into that ventilation, is he not? Or is it just so happened that he fell in there? Because
I think
the way the CGI kind of throws him in there, I felt that he used some sort of like instinctual Force power to throw himself into the vent.
Maybe as a form of survival, but it didn't look like it. Like, and yes, the CGI doesn't really help it. But I was just like, okay, he's just kind of getting sucked in because it was ventilation.
Yeah.
So
I remember like watching it and like he's going, and I'm like, oh look, he's gonna make it, and he stops, and I'm like, all right, he's gonna be able to get out of this, and the trap door opens. I'm like, what is this shit? There's just trap doors down these tubes. Like, what is happening? But I guess if you're getting stuff out of there, you don't want it to be clogging up the pipe, so you can do that. I don't know. I do remember also being like, it's awfully convenient that he drops out on the antenna, basically, just grabs onto that.
But when he falls,
sorry, Clay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, to the point where like when he falls onto that antenna and he's calling out, Ben, Ben, if you remember, right before he left, when they were telling him,
like, I'm not gonna help you.
He's like, I can't help you when you do this. I can't. And it shows that like, hey, you kind of did this on your own. You're gonna have to figure it out. And you know, he got pretty lucky that Leia and Lando hadn't completely
jumped to hyperspace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is what probably happens is they probably have like those leading to like trash chutes. But then if it's above a certain weight, then you're like, okay, this isn't trash, or this isn't gonna fit in the compartments. So then that ventilation opens up to the atmosphere, which is littering. If you think about it that way, we just dump
trash right on the planet. They're like, fuck this planet, right on the ground. Not very
Obviously,
green.
we skipped over a whole lot
Lando.
there, but we are coming to the time where we got to wrap up.
Well, okay, wait. But before we do it, I know we did skip over 2. We can't go without talking about the actual duel between Luke and Vader.
And that's what I was going to lead to.
I was going to say, we've got to at least talk about that, and then we can wrap it up, because I know I've got things to do. You got things to do. Clay, I don't know when he sleeps. He's always got something to do.
That's what I have to do. I have to go sleep.
All right. But, man, like, it's not my favorite scene, like fight scene. It's not even my favorite lightsaber duel from the original trilogy. But man, I do get invested every time of just the way they're going around, and Luke's trying to learn how to do it and going, and Vader is showing that like he is the chosen one, and Anakin's in there because he's just taking him to school. He's literally taking Luke to school, and I know he's not like fully trained in the ways of combat yet and stuff, but it is nice to see that contrast, to see why the galaxy is so scared of Vader. Because even a Jedi, even a newly formed Jedi, young, impulsive, headstrong, you're still not going to go with the experience and just overwhelming power of Vader. You know what I mean? And I just love that.
Before I say anything about the duel, I did also want to mention this. Where Han goes in the kryptonite, this bugs the crap out of me every time. He's in
the carbonite?
He's in cuffs.
I was going to say, is he going to Superman's world? Because you said kryptonite, but I'm going to watch that crossover immediately.
Carbonite. I'm sorry.
In the carbonite.
And the carbonite. I got kryptonite in my head. Y'all said Snyder's Justice League.
Sure.
I went that way. So he's in the cuffs going into the carbonite tunnel. And then when he comes out encased in carbonite, he's like this with his hand sticking up. And I want to know, why did they choose to do that? Because that bugs the shit out of me.
Because the carbonite melted the
but not his skin.
And he was able
But he also just went and is like, I'm at peace with this decision, because of course Han wasn't supposed to come back in Return of the Jedi, or he didn't want to come back in Return of the Jedi
until they backed the dump truck of money up to his door, and he was like,
shit, all right.
So he was like at peace with the situation, and then all of a sudden he's like yelling and with his hands up like that. Oh, it fucked the shit.
Because it looks better visually than him just standing there stoically, all frozen in there. They had to, Jabba's not going to hang that Han up on his wall. He wants the one that looks like he's in agony, going, no.
That's true.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. Okay, Duel.
Go ahead. I said my little piece.
So I would agree with you, Nathan. I feel like Luke's got enough raw talent to where he can keep up with Vader. Because obviously he's never dueled with a lightsaber before. So there's certain issues that you could maybe call out with that, but I thought it was fine. Like, he's got raw talent. So, and then the biggest thing I remember from this duel is playing it in Star Wars Lego Star Wars the PlayStation game, and just playing this duel and trying to get Vader to stop throwing things at me and getting the life gone. That's the biggest thing I remember from this one. You get enraptured in it at this point, yes, now, because now, words. You get enraptured in it now because okay, he's gonna say the iconic line. Where's the iconic line? And actually, the iconic line isn't even what he says. The iconic line of Luke, I am your father.
No, it's no, I am your father, Luke, or some shit like that, right?
He doesn't even say Luke. He says, no, I am your father.
Yeah, no, I am your father. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the most famous Mandela effects ever.
Yep.
And originally they had him say it to him, and Mark Hamill had no idea that was going to be it. It was like Obi-Wan. The actor on screen told him, "No, Obi-Wan killed your father," and then that's what Mark Hamill was reacting to, is he thought that Obi-Wan killed his father, and then George Lucas went back, and whenever he had the outstanding James Earl Jones come in, he said, "No, you are his father."
Yeah, I know that there was something like that, and I know that eventually they were kind of like tripping up the script or whatever, and then they handed the actual script to Mark Hamill, and that's how he found out with the flip, and that's why the reaction worked so well. But with this fight, I will say, Katie, this is why you need to get Charles Soule's omnibus, because the fight here, just like Nathan said, is not the greatest fight with lightsabers ever. It's not. And so you question, like, okay, well, how does he how is he such a badass with this lightsaber? You know, looking at Darth Vader, because we saw a little bit of a fight with Obi-Wan, and then he, you know, killed him or whatever. Charles Soule's Darth Vader is a badass with the lightsaber, complete badass with the lightsaber. So go check that out.
Okay.
But with this fight in particular,
because it's Anakin. So.
Yeah. But with this fight in particular, I think one of the coolest things for me was when Luke used the Force jump to dodge Darth Vader's attack, and I was like, "What was that?" And you know, that was the first time I had ever seen anybody do that type of Force ability. So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Seeing Darth Vader completely, you know, just throw everything in that room towards Luke and beating him up. Luke showing how much he is tired and not used to these kinds of fights whatsoever. He is way over his head with all of this. The scene was very well constructed. And like you said, the iconic scene within itself is so powerful. I remember watching it with my dad for the first time, and I was like, I don't believe it. No. No.
I said the same thing too.
I was in complete denial, and I'm just like, and my dad was like, well, why can't he be his father? And I looked at him and I was like, would you cut my hand off? I looked at him and I said, would you cut my hand off? There's no way a father would be able to do that to his own son. And man, was I naive. Holy crap. Like, it's just so good. I love the way my reactions were as a kid, and then looking back at them, I'm just like, that's why I love Star Wars, is because they were able to grasp me at such a young age.
I don't actually remember my reaction to the line.
You just know you love it now.
Still don't love the movie, but that's okay.
Right. Well, like I said, I feel better about your reasoning on that, and it was nice to talk about this movie. I mean, if you guys don't have anything else, like I said, I
don't have anything else. I got 8 minutes to go watch some softball.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're all getting short on time,
yep,
so we're done. Nothing. Let's wrap her up.
Yep. So Clay, tell us where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at fanboyclay on Twitter. I do have a link tree on my Twitter bio where you can find all of my shows, that including Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion podcast, the Weird Science Marvel podcast, and of course the Ranger Alliance podcast, which is part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. And also on that link tree, the very first link, I moved it up on the tree, is these awesome Zack Snyder Justice League cups that I've been making.
Yes.
I made my 50th sale this morning, and because of it, I'm already starting a discount sale for everything in my store. It's 15% off through the premiere of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So even if you are listening to this a little late and there is still time, go check it out. That'll be all the way until the 19th of March.
So I will leave the link tree down in the description box below so you can go find it. I did get a cup. I'm excited. I love it. So, Nathan, tell us when they can find you.
Friday nights on the Super Civil Servants podcast channel on YouTube there, and every other Sunday morning right here with Katie as we talk about Star Wars.
Yes. I think the next next episode will be Daylight Savings Day. So
yes. So be ready.
And we did put up a poll on Star Wars Alliance Twitter, thinking through like what y'all want to see next, and finish out the original trilogy ended up winning, with 18 total votes on the poll. Finished the original trilogy had 50% of the votes. So we will be watching Return of the Jedi next week, or next time.
The next time.
I should say talking about Return of the Jedi next time, because we're not watching it live. So, right. But you can find me on the Twitter at Slice of Katie. My other podcast is at Slice of Film 1, where I talk about a specific movie with a guest. So if you would like to do that, come talk with me. Next week's episode, perfect timing for Zack Snyder's Justice League, is Man of Steel. So check that out next week. Obviously perfect timing to listen to that podcast to get you ready to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. So this one we'll be talking Return of the Jedi next. So, and this one is on Twitter at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the Wars. So check us out there. If you got a question for the show, want to come on and talk about Return of the Jedi, send me a DM. We'll make it happen. So with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching. And we'll see y'all next time. May the Force be with you.
Always.